Bum ba da da dee da da dee da 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 dum. Bum ba dee da dee da da ba da 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 ba dum. Bum ba da dee da 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 dee da 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 dum. Bum ba da dee da da ba da 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 dum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this final edition of Season 5 of the Tuesday Telecast from the Joyful Path. I am your host, Lydia Lowery Busler, and today the featured guest is you. So join me here, join in the comments, tell us where you're coming from. And I know this is on a lot of different platforms and we can't necessarily see each other, but if you're here, just give a shout in the comments. I am so happy to see everyone. And if you could share this, the notification for this, because this seems to have gotten a couple of different links going around. So anyway, welcome. Again, my name is Lydia, and today we are talking about epiphanies. One of my favorite subjects, that moment when, that aha moment that just changes your world. We're talking about epiphanies in relation to stories. You ever thought it's all just a dream? Have you ever realized it's all just a dream? And what do we mean when we say just a dream? Who are you? What do you love? And why are you here? So, thank you. I have Jennifer Fiedler in the house. Hello, Jennifer. And what I want to know is the title of this is Epiphanies, stories we love, stories we became. So we've all been amused by a good story. We watch them on the news constantly. We read them in social media. We watch them on the movie screen. We read them to bring us to another place. And then it comes to that place. Hello, Winston. Good to see you. It comes to that place where we say, hey, that friend of mine, they have a story and this is amazing. I want that story. Or this is everybody's else's story and this isn't mine. What's my story? My story's been fake. Why? I'm not a man, I'm a woman. I am autistic. I am an artist and I've been a banker all this time. I've been somebody's daughter and not me. Who am I? And what do I love? And that moment can be an epiphany. And it can really destroy people. It can really move people to the point of, I don't know what I'm doing. And we have that midlife crisis, that breakdown, that thing that's a title for something. It's part of the story. So, what stories have you loved? What stories have you became? What stories have you changed? And what stories have you seen destroy someone, destroy yourself so you could be born again, so you could become, so you could be your most authentic self? What stories have filled you with regret? What stories have set you free? Do you have a story for me? I would love to talk with some people in the audience about this. And I know that there's audience on, I'm only seeing audience on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm not seeing the audience on YouTube or Facebook, but I know that that's happening. Regardless, I'm going to pop in uh, a link here to join me on stage. There is that link, and I'll also pop it um, in the comments so that you can grab it. That link is there. We go. If well, I don't know if that comment went everywhere. Um, it is the link that's on the screen. If you're able to see that, and you have an idea of what your story is, or you want to question this, you think this is all baloney that I'm talking about, and that's cool because I love these conversations. I am here for these conversations. I am here for this wild and woolly and very story rich world and this ferociousness of it all and the roar of it all. And that's why we're having this discussion. And also the peace, the tranquility. So for me, I have lived a number of different existences, and it's all me. For my story, this is a chapter, and I've had many chapters. And these chapters are, let's take that out. These chapters have to do with me being and becoming. And sometimes I'm being more, and sometimes I'm becoming more. What do I mean by this? I am a hyper creative. That's a title. And that title creates a story. It means that I create. I identify with creating. Not everyone does. I have friends. They might even be out here in the audience who say, I'm not creative at all. And that's a story too. I'm not creative. I consume what's already there, and I consume the stories that are already there, and I work with what is already here. But what is here? What is here in the space where you are now? What is here in this energetic space online? What is it that we're attracted to? And what are we holding back from? You know, as I went along, I noticed that I really am attracted to, I love all creatures. Loved probably animals more than I loved humans. At this point, I love all of us, but and I wanted to be a veterinarian. I really wanted to be a veterinarian. And then I started bashing myself about taking the path of least resistance because I went to music school and I went to art school and I studied all sorts of physics and stuff that interested me, but I did not have anything that was remotely like being a veterinarian other than my love and um, my understanding of medicine. And I ended up in the hospital and I was told that I was a medical intuitive. I was like, oh, yeah, that rings true. And then I got all these mails and emails and mailing lists from healing networks. How did they know? Why were they sending it to me? So, and this is a thing about story. It creeps in. What do we believe? What creeps in and tells us who we are? So people would ask me, come, heal me, sing to me. And I would do it. I would never fly my flag saying, hey, I'll come and I'll heal you. I'll come and I'll do this thing that is just normal, but it seems like a miracle to other people, or they just like it. They just want it. They just love it. If somebody asked, I would come. And now I've gone into this space that I'm in. It's part of the space that I am in. Because it's just this evolving way of being for me. Instead of being on stage, well, I'm on stage right now, right? Instead of being on stage, I am becoming, I am being, and I am becoming, and I am an artist, and I am a performer, and I work in the vibrational space. I continue to create more. I don't choose to create all for money. I don't perform in symphony orchestras. I could once in a while, but most people don't want you there for just part of the job, So I don't perform for symphony orchestras. I compose music. I create environments. I create containers. And that is something which I have identified with as being kind of the driving force, the way that I am in the world. I'm creating a container. I created this channel. It's a container, at least in my mind. And I've created all sorts of stage productions, and I've been at the center of them, and some of them I haven't. As I say, and I've said to my friend Carrie, who's here from California, what I throw seeds to the wind. I plant them in rich soil, nurturing hearts, nurturing lives. What I plant grows away from me, and I start again. Projects, the Modern Brass Project, the which exists, but it has its own life. Right now, it's smaller. Sometimes it's larger. The music that I've written, the music that has come down because, oh, there's a copyright infringement, uh, and the music which I mostly have no copyright infringements on because it's just entirely from me. Um, and oh, I'm seeing that there's somebody is having a buffering issue. Yeah, if this isn't working for people, please let me know. It's not breaking up on my end, and it usually does if there is an issue. So certainly share if you have any tips on that. So Jennifer Fiedler says, I think when it's our true story, there's no way we can escape or evade it. It keeps coming back, keeps showing up in our lives. Yeah. But how does it show up for you? Where does it show up in your life? Where does it show up in your mirror of your life, in the people who embrace you, who want you to do all the work, who use you, who lift you, who adore you, who react to you angrily, who get up at a soap on a soapbox and point fingers. What is what is that all about? How does it show up when you see that there's a story that is you? So one thing that has blinded us from our story in our lives is the propensity, and this is not a this is nonpartisan, non-denominational, just the human propensity to blame when we're in a survival kind of situation, and to blame when we are in the to blame when we're, and that's the StreamYard link, and it's maybe in the comments. I'm going to post that as a comment again, and maybe it'll end up on the other platforms. When we blame, when we have a, how do I say this? When we have media that is showing us, and social media, film media, TV media, YouTube media, streaming, that says, what is that? What is that thing that you have? That problem. Did you notice the things that happened at that same time? So and so moved in next door. Suddenly there were no dogs. That factory closed down. There were there was E. coli in the carrots. And we start saying, oh, that must be blamed on that person who moved next door. Maybe we can I in fact, if they weren't here, I would be so much better off, so much better off. And it clouds our vision. When we have that kind of a solution, we no longer have the idea that there is a different way, that if we actually that we have glasses on, that we don't realize it. And if we take those off, that, oh, it was just a story and it wasn't my story. And oh my goodness, that blame brings us to this going around in circles. On your computer, those spinnies. Jennifer Fiedler might be having a spinny right now. I don't know, but those spinnies, they happen on Macs, they happen on PCs. Sometimes they even happen on your phone. You're just trying to load something in. Our brain has those spinnies. We think and think and think. Stop thinking. It's not all your brain. Who are you? And what do you love? And what place does that have in your story? It doesn't all come at once. It's like you open a book, you can't read all the pages at once. Yeah, I have an uncle who could read very, 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 very fast and with 100% retention, right? And spill it back to you. Um, so you can say, "Oh, you could do that." You could, I suppose, but that's not the point. It's not about the words. It's about the story itself, and that all the pages at once don't reveal themselves in most situations. So certainly, if you're having a story and you think you might not have it all, and you've got missing pieces, and you've got the spinny going on, what are you doing to change that? And has anything changed? And are you feeling just raw and open? Are you feeling like you've fallen? Are you feeling like, yeah, I feel good, and then I'm told that I'm not showing up? These things are all parts of that story that doesn't show up for us. These are all parts of the story that's relieved, revealed. Um, Sometimes I no no talk good. Um, and I think you all in this audience are very aware of that. As I speak more, sometimes my speech just comes right out. Why? Because that's a story of mine. I've had a traumatic brain injury. At some point in my life, I wasn't able to talk at all, and I went on medication to bring me to my baseline self. And here I am at my baseline self now. I give myself a shot once a month. This is all real. And now I've gone through periods of, oh, if I have a sip of wine before I go out there, I'll be able to speak more. I'll be able to stories. And as this is revealed, what's a central part of this? there's creation, and there's speaking. Why do I want to speak so much? Why do I want to be part of this story in that way? So look at the themes in your life and have you looked at them and what has opened up for you? Um, I have a guest in the studio. I am hopefully there's no glitches. I'm going to bring up Jennifer Fiedler. And here we are. Hi,
Good
Jennifer.
morning.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for joining the studio. What do you think about this story stuff? And what's happened to you? What's shown up, or you have any pithy stories, or do you want to talk about the the pages that we've revealed as we go along and how we're revealing those pages in American society right now? We can go anywhere with this. I want to hear your story.
Absolutely. Thank you. I concur 100% and beyond with everything you're saying, and particularly resonant with me is the whole stop thinking. Thinking, so many of us live from here up, and we're programmed to believe that our mind and our intellect is who and what we are, which clearly isn't the thing. And I like your reference to this as Epiphanies. I call it a cosmic bitch slap in Gen speak. It's the
Yeah.
title of my book, and it's like that. And so frequently, that happens when people, well, it's how the universe shows us something we've been ignoring or unable to see or unwilling to see, and it like ramps up until like, right? And I
Yeah.
know that for me, I enjoyed a long career working in the motion picture industry, and I loved it. It was very addictive and exciting, and new and wonderful, right? And I got thrown off a made-for-TV movie, male-dominated ego drama. I mean, welcome to everybody's world, right? And I was sitting out on my back porch in Los Angeles, and this insane dialogue went on in my head where this tiny little voice I'd never heard before said, "I don't give a fuck if I never make another movie again." And the big loud voice said, "What? What did you say? Shut up." And this kind of, right. And I had never heard that tiny little voice before, and in fact, I didn't know what it was, and I was a little freaked out, to say the least. But as basically when I slowed into silent stillness and gradually stopped doing and became being, needless to say, that tiny little voice was the voice of my heart that always speaks truth. And we're just unable or unwilling to listen to that.
And it has to speak truth really loudly if we're not listening. If we're
Well,
not
yeah,
listening,
and
then, there's that slap part of it. We can learn the easy way, we can learn the hard way, we can spend our whole lives learning it, but we're gonna learn it, whatever. So strap in and be there for the ride because that's how it goes.
oh
And,
yeah,
I hear
absolutely.
that so much in your story.
Yeah, but just because it's the loudest voice in the room doesn't mean you need to listen to it. And so I don't think the voice of our heart ever speaks loudly. It's inexorable. It's sometimes allegro ma non troppo, but it's never super loud, right? So I just wanted to quickly touch on this no escaping your truth, which is I dropped out of that industry because I'd had it. It's very toxic and brutal and competitive, and we witness levels of immorality that are just like, wait, what? That turns into your new norm. Yeah, and absolutely not. So I was halfway around the world working, doing something completely different, and my past came back to bite me in the ass with falling in with people in the production community, the film production community. And I was like, oh God, no. And it was uh interesting to me. Like, wow, there's no, it's like the road to Samsara, right? There's no escaping death. And it was very, certainly not coincidental, but it was exceedingly unexpected for me to be where I was and to be kind of tossed back into that swimming pool. And I was very reluctant to do that. And my first experiences with that community and those people were negative is an understatement. And I was like, oh yeah, no, this is the same but different. Please, this has got to be what joke of the gods, right? And then I hooked up with somebody who was on the page and who resonated, was a soul that resonated, and I was afforded an opportunity to do something that's the most gratifying thing I've ever done in my life, and was something that I never in a million years dreamed even existed. So the point of that is you can run, but you can't hide.
It'll chase you down.
Yeah, get into yourself to, a level of discernment in your self-awareness, and question what exactly is happening here rather than blowing it off. But thirdly, the most impactful part of this for me and for people I work with is potential exists in the unknown. We exist in the known, in our zone of comfort, and we're in a box. And as I've said to Carrie on numerous occasions, the un in unknown is the same un in unlimited. So in our zone of the known, we're limited. And people say, well, I tried and I couldn't think of that, or, I can't imagine, I can't conceive of that, or I can't imagine that. Listen to what you're saying, man. That's the whole point. You can't imagine, you can't conceive, you've never thought of that. That's the point. And so my story of you can run, but you can't hide, level up your self awareness to delve into what's going on, and understand that these amazing things exist beyond your realm of what you think or you believe you know. So embrace that, run towards that with your arms open.
That's a thing that I've noticed. It was an epiphany for me when I realized it all at once, and I share it all the time, that uncertainty is the sum of all possibilities.
Absolutely.
There's no we fear the uncertainty, we fear the unknown. And what's that all about? That's ego. That's arrogance. We think we know that bad things are going to happen.
Yeah. What are you, a mind reader?
We have no idea. We think that we know what's good. We don't know all of what's good. We don't know everything. That's arrogant. And to know that is so freeing, because all of a sudden it changes your worldview, and you take off those glasses of, I say that I don't think in limitations, I think in possibilities. And that I can't is a limitation, and it clouds our vision.
Definitely.
I want to bring in, I've got Carrie Core in the house, and I'm going to bring him on to stage.
All right. There he is.
Hi, two of my favorite people.
Hello, Carrie. Thanks for popping into the studio. So what do you think of all this?
Well, I mean, I love what you guys are saying, and I'll add my 2 cents in it. Knowing is something I don't even try to do anymore. Like, what the hell do I know? And 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 that keeps me, if I actually think I know, I'm out of possibilities, potentialities. And then I want to add to that nonsense that people have, which is fear of uncertainty and the unknown. But I'll add another thing. We're going to die. Guess what? We're going to die. That's just inevitable. So all the running around it and trying to create something that lasts, or whatever is going through the mind, not the heart, is such futile effort that it doesn't bring anything to the world, right? It just doesn't bring anything to the world. And once you realize that that is truth, you can see how nature works, how the universe works, and that you are and have all these incredibly, and I mean, when I say you, I mean everybody, all almost 8 billion of us have a unique set of who they are and abilities and all the things. And so if you just go out and look at a small patch of grass, you will realize that no blade is the same. So, I mean, and like that's in 1 foot by 1 foot. And then if you calculate all the different grass and all the different things in the world, it's beyond abundant and possible. And so humans think we know because we labeled it grass. We put a symbol on it. It's grass, it's green, it grows like this, and all this
And
stuff.
it is the whole thing. It is.
Right. And that's not experiencing life for me. That's not experiencing existence in those symbols. It was. It was for me, of course, like most people. It certainly was, and I resonate deeply with Jennifer's story, and I know yours, Lydia. So,
Was
the
there a
thing,
place, Carrie? I just want to.
Mhm.
I want to
Yeah,
touch on this idea of each grass is separate and of our and of our human stories. Is there a time when you saw um, all the all the filmmakers, all the all the Californians, all the people of this educational ilk, all of the whatever, some pocket of people as being it, and then all of a sudden opened up and said, "Oh, we're sharing the same energy, and we're separate." Eh, When
yeah.
did that open up for you?
Well, like Jennifer, I spent some time in Hollywood, and independent film, the out branches of Hollywood, but it's all one big organic toxic cesspool. And so, yeah, so in that, I mean, I always knew I was a storyteller, but I ran from that for a lot of my life. And then when I found out that, um, oh wow, film really is a place I could tell my stories, right? And so I started treading that path, and there's a lot of rejection, and being very close to several projects coming to fruition after I'd done some stuff, but nothing huge, just done some stuff, won some awards, all the egoic stuff, whatever, but those pieces were coming out of me in spite of my own ego and in spite of everybody around me being there, because I didn't know, I wasn't aware then, had no awareness of any of this stuff we're talking about. But then I realized one day when I couldn't get something over the thing to be made, not even made, like to be made, I realized, like, is this me? This is me. Like, something's wrong with me. Carrie is just a messed up individual. He's either too creative or too outside the box or not inside the box enough, and I'm doing all this tap dancing in my head and out in the world, hi, here I am, I have the agent, I'm in the meeting in the company and all this stuff. And when I thought it was me, I just gave up. I just gave up. And
Mm.
I was, yeah, I was troubled by giving up. Not just the giving up, like the ego thing, like sticking to it. I was troubled by why I have this sense, this understanding of who I am and what I can bring, and that it's not happening despite all my quote unquote efforts, like all of the taking the meetings and all of the dancing around and all the stuff and getting the agent and putting stuff out there and la 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 la, and that's what my head was like.
Right. You're right. And you were going along and you were progressing in your story. You had turned the pages, but you didn't have all the pages revealed to you yet. You're going along and that's the nature of story. Like, oh, look at that. There's themes. Like, I've seen that theme before. I've seen it again. But and then you just have to go forward. So what happened when you went forward?
Well, I had this great realization that I've always seen my life as a movie. And I see the world every day like a movie. It's just how I'm cooked up. Others might do that, and that's all cool, and I know some do. But that doesn't matter to me in any way, even that they do. I love the resonance of it. It's not so much that. It's not like, but it's that tapping into that, who I actually am and why I'm here, and then no more thinking about that it's me as if I'm some thing that doesn't fit into this other thing, this great thing. Like, I mean, it's not my fault that I can't get a movie made in the big independent film companies. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, I realized there's nothing wrong with me, and I realized, oh, wow, this whole thing, all of this whole thing, I mean, existence, has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It just doesn't even want to be involved in any of that stuff. And that people's egos are doing it and creating it and all that just has nothing to do with me and this thing, the universe, consciousness, whatever we want to call it, right? This existence. And so I'd been doing a bunch of other stuff or trying to fit my square peg in these round holes, and I realized that's not what's going on here.
Mhm.
That's not truth.
Yeah. Yeah. There's You're not gonna put that ego, you're not gonna get rid of it entirely, but you don't have to have it standing on your nose in front of your vision. You don't have to listen to it all the time, like Jennifer said, just because it's the loudest voice in the room. And Winston, hello.
Hey.
Hey, Winston.
Winston in the house. Yeah, so there's a lot there that is just going to show up anyway, however it does for everyone. But why are you why is it showing up, and how can we be curious about that, lean into that, stop thinking about it, stop spinning, and just do it? And that's where we're kind of in the pages, and it feels really messy when it's happening. Just really messy.
Yeah. Could I add something quickly?
Yeah.
Listening to Carrie talk, and you, and what I said, and I bet Winston would concur, I find it so strange that we fear uncertainty, we fear the unknown. It's about fear, right? It's fear-based. Our egos tell us, "Hey, I know, man. I know what I'm talking about. I got it going on." And our inability, and similarly fearful, as Carrie said, when it doesn't work out or when the shit hits the fan, the first thing we do is blame ourselves. So all of this speaks to an incredible blindness about consciousness and unity. We're separate from, must be me. I'm separate. Oh no, I know what I know. Y'all, I don't know, whatever. Blah, 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 yeah. But this it speaks to our frailty, and
Mm,
it speaks to some built-in part of our human nature that's really calling out for us to transcend. In fact, we need to transcend in order to reach a place of potentiality and oneness. And to get to that place that isn't like, yeah, whatever, it's grass, but to discern the difference, but get that we're part of that. So I always wonder, like, why are we so resistant to that?
Can I can I comment on that?
Absolutely.
please do. Thank you.
So thanks for sharing your thoughts there, Jennifer. And what came to me immediately is it's not fear, it's control. We want to control the outcome. So it's not, the unknown is when it's out of our control. And then when it doesn't unfold the way that we want, and so we have the story that we want to have unfold. And then there's the grand choose your own adventure story that we're operating in. And when it doesn't unfold the way that we want, then we get frustrated, which goes back to control. And it was a statement that was said to me by my guide 7 years ago now, that she said, I could show you a place, but you will have to forget, let go of everything you believe in, forget everything that you understand in order to get there. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She gave me a glimpse. And it was, at that time, just a profound experience. And now, 7 years later, that statement has rung so true that there are things that I've experienced I can't even share with people because they think that I'm just absolutely crazy, but it happened.
Yeah.
And in order for that to happen, I had to let go of all this conditioning and belief systems that have been imprinted on me in order to, it's like you have to shed off what you have to shed off in order to walk through this little space that you can only walk through, let's say, naked, because you can't bring anything with you.
Right.
Are you willing to go?
Great analogy.
Are you willing to go through that? And if you're not, then you're not going to fit, because you can only fit through it, through this little opening as you.
I'm sensing that there's also, for me, this, while you can shed the garments, you can go through the hole, you can remember the pages before in the book, but if you're really engaged in going forward, they start to fade into the distance. It's not that you must forget, it's that you must be willing to go forward and leave that behind.
Cool. Here's something that, we'll use your epiphany, that someone, a friend, a transformative coach friend of mine said to me, which blew my mind. So it was, I have a fantastic experience, so I want to have that experience again. That's a normal thought process for all of us. And so he goes, okay, so you've had this great experience, and now you want to recreate that experience in your future so you can re-experience it again. Why? He goes, so I can learn more from it. He goes, but you're taking your past to create your future. So you're basically creating your past, and you're creating this loop, and you're never actually getting out of the loop because you're constantly living in your past. And we're not all powerful enough to actually create emotion. So you're actually not experiencing anything new. So what are you actually doing? And that sent me for a loop, no pun intended. And I really had to go and ponder that. If I'm creating a future based off what I know, then there's no new information. So I can't create a new experience.
Yes.
So I have to go and step into, like writing a story. You can only you have to put in new information so the story can continue using the same elements, repeat over and over and over again. The experience can't change, because it's like watching the same 10 episodes over and over and over again, and you need episode 11. But
yes, and we can go to the past and create from that and spiral outward, but it's going to be a much slower spiral. Like no matter what, we're going to go forward unless we really hamper that, and then we stagnate and we're not going anywhere. And we, like Carrie said, we die, right? We're going to die. Like, do you want to actually go forward or in this lifetime, or do you want to spiral very slowly? And that's actually okay. And that's a choice. We have more choice about that than we realize. If we're anywhere in that spinny in our brains, then we can choose to step out of that spinny and to go forward and to not take that past story. Or we can take that past story and go forward in a cloud with glasses on, with a scarf on our bodies, on our head, whatever, and squeeze through that space. We can go through however we want, but it'll either be slower or faster. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would like to say something to this, and I agree with all of what you're saying, Lydia. But I feel like great swaths of humanity don't have awareness. So, to what Winston's been saying, when you are awakened, the genie doesn't go back in the bottle. Then it becomes about the choices you're talking about, Lydia, and Winston was talking about them too. So was Jennifer. But the thing is, who's aware of this, or how many people are aware of this? That's going around, and that our life is a movie to write, and that when something's well written, you don't know what's happening in the next breath. You have no clue. A character might just become unhinged who looks completely the picture of perfect quietness. I mean, it's anything can happen, and embracing that is awakening to the idea that could happen to you. And what I mean, we have no control. We literally have no control over what might come, like Winston was saying, and outcomes don't do us anything, because once you had the outcome, you can't make that outcome come again the same way the outcome came to you, right? That's what Winston was saying. The repeat of what was a great experience can't be repeated, because that happened in a now of that time, in a moment of that time, and this one now is completely different. Could something similar, something equal to the grandeur of it, all that, of course, all that, because that's possibilities, potentials. Yeah.
So, but the thing that Lydia is alluding to about you don't have a choice for the story to unfold, I would push back on that with I'm in a space, I don't judge where anyone's at, awakened, unawakened, whatever the label is, but the idea of if you are not aware and you reach a chapter, we'll just use this metaphor, you reach a chapter in your story and you really, really like it, then you just relive it and you wake up. So if you wake up, you go to work, you do this, you come back, you wake up, you just go in this loop. And to say that, well, you're not going anywhere. The person doesn't understand that there's anywhere to go. They like that space and they see that space. And is it right or wrong? It's might not be their time to go and venture onto the next page of the next chapter. For those that have ventured further on and seeing that there's, like, we can actually step out of this book and there's a whole bunch of other portals and stuff that we can experience.
Yes.
I was in a version of myself where I'm telling people there's more to this. It's falling on deaf ears because they don't care, they don't understand, and they can't possibly imagine that anyway. So I let them be, and you have to, and then you continue on on my particular journey. The further I go, the crazier the story unfolds. And then just to speak to something I heard earlier, where my favorite one is like I'm waiting and I'm wasting all this time. But the crazy part is, if I didn't wait, it actually wouldn't have unfolded in my favor. Like I actually had to wait in order for this to unfold, and I hate that one particular thing. Like it's happened so many times where I criticize myself for burning off a week, but by burning off a week, everything in the background needed that extra week to fall into place, and then everything unfolded perfectly. And it's spooky. It's absolutely spooky when it happens. Like everything unfolded in my favor by not doing anything, and if I did anything, it wouldn't have unfolded this way.
And patience. You're alluding to something that you brought up a lot earlier, of patience. These are all metaphors for different ways that each of us may be experiencing whatever, and we don't choose to continue to open up something and change somebody's worldview because we can't. But like Jennifer was saying earlier on, like it's going to happen anyway, and you're just going to keep being slapped by it unless you actually have the curiosity and the patience and whatever to just stop the spinning and to just be. I acknowledge the I was laughing before, Carrie, and it wasn't what you were saying. It was just I had this image of spray foam, and it comes out and it can't fit back into anything, and yet it comes out and then it goes plop, and it's in its stiff form. You can cut it, you can carve it, you can't, but you're not going to change that, nor you're going to fit it back in the bottle. So that's a little less like us, but some of us are really we're like, I've learned that, I've expanded into the space, and then we stop. And that's okay too. It's not, it's, we are born belonging. What we do with that after is our own trajectory. And the patience really helps us, because we do have that ego that just wants to know more, needs to know more, needs to control it in order to survive.
Yeah, that's cool. I wanted to say something to this, and then what Winston was saying as well, is that this can be looked at like your past. If you Winston's pause metaphor that he used, pause and then things lining up, I see my past like that. Do I agree with and want other people to do some of the things I did? Absolutely not. But I don't get here, sitting here with 4 incredibly enlightened people talking about something that's bigger than me, if one of those steps along my way didn't happen, right? Because what is. What is. And so I'm grateful for all of these things that hurt me, that made me feel bad about myself or towards someone else I did something to. Not that you don't have to apologize, and I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is those moments of your life all added up to where we are right now, and they can't, your path can't, that story can't be rewritten in any way. So the most we can do is what Lydia suggested, is be curious about it. Be curious about what you can learn from that. Be curious where you weren't connected, where you saw someone different, where you were labeling everything, where you were, I mean, the questions can go on and on and on, but it is that there is some, whether we want to accept it or not, there's something called divine timing. I don't know. I'm not really woo-woo. So like, but I see it happen for me. If I pause and don't do something about something, things work out. They just work out. I may or may not have to do something. And if I do have to do something, the something is sort of comes to me without me deciding what it is I have to do. And I'm going to do this and that and the other. There's this beautiful nature about understanding your journey to this point, that no matter what happened on it, that is actually beautiful, even though some of it is horrific or can be horrific, you know.
Totally. I would just like to add that, Winston, you said something that I'm not sure I correctly understood, of when we were talking about awakening, and that's not something we force on other people. And everybody has their own path. Carrie, when we speak in this term of are we awakened or not, and who is and who isn't and whatnot, and I think that, of course, I'm an advocate of divine timing in everything, and it's also, some people die without ever having awakened, and all, I believe, all, for those of us who have, humans, it's strictly experiential. It's not, I coach, and I encounter people who are like, oh, I did all the thing, I read the books, I listen to the podcast, blah, blah, and they're still a big hot mess, right? So it's experiential. It's something that we embody in experience that renders that result. And so I look at it as, I express gratitude for being allowed to release more of myself into the world, not to change people, not to, like, I'm grateful I awakened, and all I want is to release as much of that as possible into the world. And like the spray foam, like, it lands and slides, or it doesn't land, or it dematerializes in the ether, like whatever, none of that's my problem. But it is, I do believe that the onus is on us to release as much of ourselves as possible into the world in whatever way we can, at the same time understanding that it's not about proselytizing, it's not about, wow, you're a mess. It's just about human experience, and you can pick it up or not.
Yeah.
The term awakened.
Carrie.
Bye. Sorry, I gotta run, you guys.
Bye, Carrie.
Great talking to you. Bye.
See you tomorrow.
I choose not to use very often because everyone has their interpretation of what it means. So I'm speaking for myself, the same friend who told me about what I was doing, creating my future is my past. And he said to me later on, after I am awakened, he said, you were going to be awakened whether you like it or not. You were in this lifetime, you were destined to wake up. And I was fortunately given a guide. Someone came to me to guide me during my awakening and then accelerate the process. So instead of having this path like this, it went straight up.
Cool.
I do remember saying at one point, I go, this eventually slows down, right? And she looked at me and said, but do you want it to?
Who are you and what do you love? What do you want? What are you, how are you being? and you can, if you want it to slow down, it'll slow down.
Well, this is that, like, I don't, when I look back, like, where did that question come from? Then she said, do you want it to? And then I really pondered and I go, no. Then she goes, then don't worry about it. Right. And then this was the whole letting go of whatever it was that's questioning where this path is going. Because I go, when I really think about it, where did that question come from? Like, does it slow down? It's been great so far. Why would I want to slow down? So it's kind of like figuring out who's speaking or where this narrative is coming from.
It may have been a necessary pause in order to go forward. And that may be where the question came from.
Yeah, I thought that. And then, well, my choice was actually like press the accelerator pedal even further and go. But what I understood now is there is no wrong choice. It's like the universe is, if you wanted ice cream, doesn't matter what flavor you pick, you're going to get ice cream. Yeah, there is no wrong choice. You just have, I use that analogy with my clients to say, you just have to choose. By not choosing, none of the doors open. So just choose. The universe isn't going to go and give you an option that there's there's a trap on the other side. It's like they're all the next steps. You just have to choose one, and I'm not going to give you a bad choice. And that's something that I had to understand myself. Yeah, there might have been something that was not fun, but was it harmful? Was it bad? It's like, no, it's an experience, and then I move on. And then you pick another door, and you pick another door, you pick another door, and you keep moving forward. Where I get your little the spinning pinwheel is, and I know now when I get stuck is when I don't choose, and I'm just sitting there stagnant, and I'm just sitting there I'm waiting for something to happen, and the whole point is I'm waiting for something to happen, and the universe is waiting for me to do something, and then now we're at this impasse where it's like, well, I don't know what you want because you haven't made a decision. And I'm waiting for something to happen, but I haven't made anything happen, so nothing happens. And as you said, it just sits there and spins.
This reminds me of we've mentioned. Thank you, Jennifer. We've mentioned that what we've done with our clients and something that I've done with choice is to say, give yourself a container. I'm going to give you a scarf. This is a metaphorical scarf. You can throw it on the ground and walk on it. You can wear it as a blindfold. You can wrap it around and wear it as a sari. You can wear it as a turban. You can do whatever. You can dance with it. This is your scarf. You can do whatever you want. And we can choose by not choosing, by just going forward. It's still a choice to go forward. But we can give ourselves the comfort of going forward with the blindfold. I don't know what direction I'm going in, but I'm going to go because I can't stay here. I'm going to go forward walking on the scarf. I'm going to go forward clothed. I'm going to go forward chaste. I'm going to go whatever our perception is at the time, whatever our story is that we're coming from, that's our scarf. If we're going forward and we're choosing, we might not think we can choose. We might not want to choose, but the choice happens regardless because of how we're showing up and going forward or not.
I will offer a slightly different version of that, which was expressed to me by my coach, where I'm stuck, expressing that I'm stuck. She goes, okay, so you're pretty much let's say you're standing in front of a wall. So if you move in any direction whatsoever, it's better than being here, right? I'm like, yeah. She goes, then why aren't you moving? So it's not about moving forward. It's just about, we conceptualize that moving forward is right. It's just motion. We just have to keep choosing to, like, when going backward isn't going backward, because we can't go backwards in time. It's just we're moving. We're just moving, making it, or better way, we're just making a choice, whatever that choice is. But it's just not choosing to stand here staring at this glass wall, wondering why we can't get through this glass wall. Well, go one step to the left or the right. You might see a totally different perspective of this glass wall that you can't see from where you're at. And that was something that I never conceived of. And then when she spoke about it, she goes, yeah, you could be stuck and not see why. It could be a wall that's the width of a hair that's a mile long and it's right in front of your nose and you can't see it. But if you just shifted your perspective a degree left or right, and then you see that you're standing in front of this wall, now you can do something about it. And that to me is something that a description that I hold on to versus constantly saying I have to move forward. Well, what happens if I can't? Well, then let's just change that to say, just choose to go in any direction, because we can choose to go up or down or left or right. Once we break free of our own belief systems, we can move in any direction we want.
Quantum leap, however we want to do it. I have a question for you. Do you have a story or a belief regarding whether it's a choice to be curious about whether we can step beyond the wall or not? Is that curiosity that moves us or shapes us or even opens the question? Is that a choice?
So are you asking, is curiosity a choice, or is it a state of being?
When you approached your teacher with the question, I'm stuck, how do I move?
Oh, actually, I'm stuck and I didn't know. So they came back with like, why aren't you moving? To use curiosity now, for me, to me, it's no longer a choice. It's just I'm drawn by it, where I'll go and I look in the darkness and I'm like, I'm not scared of the darkness anymore. It's just keep barreling through, and whatever shows up, shows up. So it used to be a choice, like, oh, do I want to go here? Want to go here? And I could feel it. So now it's not a decision in headspace. It's like it's a very much heart-centered pull, and it's not really choosing. It's just following. Best way I could describe it. It's just I'm following a feeling, and wherever it guides me, it guides me. It's almost like being in the middle of the ocean. I don't know up, down, left, right. Well, am I going north or south? It's like, let's go this way, and then off we go. And that's it. I don't know if that answers your question about curiosity.
There's no right answer. You responded to my question. Is it arbitrary when we choose? Kind of like my scarf. Is it arbitrary? Or is it, how much is it arbitrary and how much is it intrinsic to our consciousness to choose to go with the wave instead of going against it, or believe that the wave isn't there?
Choice in that as you describe it in those three instances, is connected to comfort. That's how I interpret it. If I just choose to go with it and just float around with the current, then is that going with the flow, or is that just going with ease? And now I'm just being comfortable, going against the flow. That's uncomfortable, but how do I know that that's not what I'm supposed to do? Because I want to get out of the stream and to another one.
We don't know. It's a choice.
Yeah. So that to me is what came up. And something else that was brought up, that I, for using the metaphor of story and books and chapters, is we can often blind ourselves by desiring somebody else's book or somebody else's chapter that they're in, and judging. It's like, well, why is their story so great and mine not so great? Or I want to mimic their story, abandoning our story. And that can happen. Are you meant to do that? It's like, well, it is a choice. Right?
Yeah. So much blindness comes with that. It's akin to the wrapping back around to the beginning of the show, to the blame. And we look at somebody else's story and compare. We're putting that judgment in front of our own possibility. Why did we do that? Why isn't it as good as theirs? That puts a judgment on it. And it's not good or bad. It just is.
Yeah,
and when it just is, it moves forward.
Yeah, it's to understand, and this is something that I am still working on, even after all these years of doing it. It's to go and say, that's not meant for me. Right? It's and then you go, how do I know what's meant for me? It's if it feels, to me, if it feels in alignment and it just makes me just I can't describe the feeling. That's what I'm meant to do, not that. As much as I want to do that, as much as I want to, simple one is I want to teach, speak on stage, do all these things that I'm getting bombarded by. I can do all those things, but what am I meant to do? And when I sit with it, it's like, I got to go and focus on these things instead. And then all of a sudden, then the story unfolds a lot smoother.
Yeah, I call that the path of ease and flow.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. It's like the shine. It's like, oh, Lydia's doing a podcast. I should be doing that. It's like, they're doing this. I should be doing that. And I've fallen into those spaces only to find out it's like, I'm not really feeling this. It's like it's provides value to people, but it just doesn't really light me up. Like if I went to a classroom and helped out a bunch of people doing a live presentation. So why aren't I doing that instead? And so like that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I had to ask someone that brought that up to me, what should I do? And I go, what is it that you want? And if it comes down to just money, then if that's your deciding factor, then that kind of sets up all of your available choices. But if it's for growth and learning and experiencing what this life has to offer, then that opens up a whole different set of possibilities. We have to be very clear on what is it that we want.
Yeah. With that, I'm going to say that this room is going to come to a close because we have gone on over an hour. and it is enough. Winston, thank you for sticking with me.
Oh, you're welcome.
I
Thank you for having me.
appreciate you, and I appreciate you for jumping up on the stage in this sort of new format that I like. I may or may not continue with it, but as I say to people all the time, if you know somebody who's lifted themselves and are lifting others, tell me about them. Maybe I'll have them on the show. And anyway, I appreciate you, and I will see you maybe next time. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'll see you next time, Lydia. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Winston.
Right. Have a great day.
You too. And so, indeed, if you know somebody who has walked the path and is lifting others to that path, send them my way. I will open up a new season. It's going to be season 6 in December. And in the meantime, if you liked this show, please hit like. If you haven't done it and you are interested in seeing more, please ever so gently push that subscribe button. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time on The Joyful Path. Ciao. Bum ba da da dee da da dee da 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 da. Bum ba dee da dee da da ba da 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 ba dum. Bum ba da dee da 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 dee da 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 dum. Bum ba da dee da ba da 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 dum.